do it.
Okay, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mom. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. Do you open yourself for questions?
Sure.
Other questions for Representative Rowland? Seeing none, other further announcements? Yes, Chair Carey.
Just want everyone to know that the Student Activity Center is accepting reservations for fall semester on November 1st. So if you're a chair of the committee, get your reservations in tonight for the end performance classes. Yes, I put myself.
Chairman Nye.
Did you mean spring?
Sorry, I meant to. Yes.
Do you follow?
No, thank you.
Further questions for Chair Carey? Seeing none, other further announcements? Okay. I would just like to say thank you to everyone who did dress up. I do appreciate it. Happy Halloween. Glad everyone was safe. Also, I wanted to say congratulations to Representative Higgins and Chair Akers for this is your last meeting as representatives. So congratulations for a year, though. I really appreciate being in this body through the entire time. And I do open myself for questions. And I have not decided yet who the best dressed is, but I do have some carnival lights for who I decide at the end of the meeting. But right now it's between Chief Justice Kloppenberg and Officer Rack for the award. Just giving a heads up. So, are there further announcements? Seeing none. Removal or impeachment representatives, we have none. Special orders, we have another presentation from the ASM Foundation, and I would entertain a motion to move out of rules. Chair McNally.
Motion to move out of rules.
Second, are there any objections to moving out of rules for this presentation? Hearing none, we're out of rules. This is Andrew Bose. He was one of the recipients of the Honorable Mention Award from the ASM Foundation for their scholarship, and he's here to present to us his Moving Days project. So please pay attention, and thank you for being with us, Andrew.
Sweet. Let me start by saying that these are some pretty sweet costumes. But I did see somebody in the business school today who was fully dressed with a suit and tie and all that, and then just a scarecrow mask, like from Batman, or one of the Batman. It's pretty sweet looking. It's just a bag. So anyway, this is the Moving Days project, and so it comes in essentially 3 flavors. It's centered around apartment move out, which I think most of us are familiar with. Just tons of trash everywhere. But there's 3 main chunks. One is on-site donations, one is a trash treasure sale, and one is large furniture removal. And so I think we're all pretty familiar. Actually, can you turn the lights a bit? Alright, so you get the idea. There's just stuff piled up everywhere. Essentially, it's an attack on the landfill, so to speak, attack on the environment. And the real tragedy is that a lot of that stuff is actually really good. And I think a lot of us are actually not familiar with that too. So we're essentially just throwing money away. And it's not necessarily because we as students are lazy, as much as we want to take everything with us, but we don't always have the space. And so, the standard procedure is to pack up as you can, but some good stuff is to throw away if we don't have room. So the apartment on-site collections is essentially, instead of throwing stuff away, you put it into a collection site, and then from there, those collections go to Goodwill. And there's actually a similar section, I don't have it here, but similar thing for St. Vinny's, only those are trailers that people put stuff to. And so the second tier of this project is a trash treasure sale. And so pretty much people's leftovers, you take it to a central location, and then some nonprofit, say like the university, just sells it at like really low cost. University, what is it? This is Penn State University. They have a really good program. Last year they pulled in like $75,000 from the trash and treasure sale. And so that helps recover some lost money that can then go to all the participating projects. And so they got it figured out. We're still kind of figuring it out. We don't quite have it figured out. So the last section is large fabric removal. And this is something that the city recycling coordinator is actually really interested in because, well, one, it fills up the landfill pretty quickly, things like mattresses, couches, stuff like that. And two, he doesn't have a good solution to it yet. So the current system is if you have something big and you want to remove, you can actually buy a little ticket that you slap on it. It shows that you paid for it to be removed, and then the city comes and picks it up. And the actual problem is that doesn't stick to furniture. And so one problem is that you need something that actually sticks to the furniture. So one possibility is finding a new type of little tagging system. Another possibility is just recycling it all. And so lots of things can be recycled. And one of the big ones that this project is looking at is figuring out how do you go about recycling mattresses. Because those get thrown out, people don't want them. There's lots of them, they take up a lot of space. And that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Are there questions for Andrew? Yes, Chris.
Oh, it'd be like any of the participating parties. So, for example, like let's say the school, St. Vinny's, and Goodwill all pool in resources for trash pickups. Then that money generated would probably go back to Goodwill, St. Vinny's, their nonprofit missions, or UW Madison or something.
Yes, Jamie.
For the design of the sale and the way that it's organized, are you talking about like selling back to students, having an actual like essentially mega yard sale, or is it just like selling these wholesale?
Well, it wouldn't be wholesale, and it kind of depends on whatever works. We would have to decide what's just going to work out. For Penn State, we sell it to people. So we put it all in like baby package, and then that keeps the files around because it's not just stuff like $5 stuff like that. So it's less than wholesale. Then the radio is just stuff.
Are there other questions for Andrew? Andrew.
Yeah. So I guess logistically, how would you see this going on maybe this next year as this would probably be implemented as soon as possible?
Yes, and that's actually a good question. When I first applied to this scholarship, I had not yet been accepted as the evening and so I've actually kind of implemented the first stage of that. And so what we had was, well, you can see we had the Google collection sites with some collection sites. And trash credit sales was logistically just going to do it. And planning, we did a donation page, as we called it, and people were just doing drops that off, and people responded it. And so that was actually really successful. So the hope for next year is there will be another team that will plan out.
So I guess I'm kind of wondering why you want to change it from a donation perspective to trash perspective.
There's one real benefit to that. You don't have to, but the main benefit to that is financially sustainable that way. So it's something that can be done every single year because we generate some funding. Now this donation rate that costs something like $800 to use that project, whereas if we did trash and service sale, it would pay for itself so that next year we would and then for 30
So what you're saying is the university just put on the donation page perspective. cost the university. And so, what?
Plus the cost of it. Which you have back.
Okay. So, but if the university combines efforts with the Fall Society and Goodwill, do you think the split would be more like 3 ways, like a third to each, or I guess how do you see working with the other collection organizations?
Well, that's actually a really good question. At that point, at this point, I'm not sure how it will play out. Because we like the program. So it might be just the university business, you might, we could use like this, so it's really a matter of working with them just to see what.
Other further questions for the speaker? I actually have one. So how do you view this body helping you along with this project? How do you view, where do you see our role as, I guess?
What's that?
What do you see the role of this body in helping you accomplish your goal? How can we help you?
That's a good question. I have not really thought about that at this point. Actually, like I said, when I first applied for this, there was nothing really for this, and then I became an intern. So the internship program, Office of Sustainability is already planning on having another intern, so it's kind of set in place, but there's always a need for volunteers, so something like that, any contributions of organizing volunteers or something like that, so it would be a plus. But really, I haven't thought too much about that.
Of course, thank you. Would you like to see this implemented this coming spring during move out as soon as possible? I mean.
Well, actually, there already is a spring program. This is for our move out in August. And the spring program is pretty well established. It's between the school, Goodwill, St. Minnie's, housing. And that's been going on for quite a while, and it's pretty solid. So the goal would be for this for essentially what was done last August, it happened next August, but bigger.
That makes sense. That's all I have for questions. Are there other people who have questions for Andrew? Seeing none, Andrew, thank you so much for coming in. Matt will send out some follow-ups to some people who are interested, and we will be in contact. So I really appreciate you coming in, and congratulations once again. Chair McNally.
That motion move back to the rules.
Second. Thank you. Are there any objections to move back into rules? There are none. We're back into rules, and we're on to open forum. Any member of the ASM shall have the right to speak at the open forum. Members of the ASM who are not officers of the ASM shall take precedence over officers and appointees. Non-members of the ASM may be granted the opportunity to speak by majority vote of the Student Council. Each speaker may speak once for 3 minutes, and open forum is limited to 45 minutes unless by 2/3 vote we decide to extend it. So with that, we have Luke Neverman as the first speaker here. So, Luke, yeah, wherever you want. You know, 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Luke Neverman. I'm a senior class officer and the senior class secretary. This evening, I'm here to speak on behalf of the senior class officers in support of the Varsity Day in the spring of 2014. I think Varsity Day, like the senior day that we had this past spring, 2012. It's a great event that can stand to benefit all campus, not just seniors, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors as a whole. And I think it'd be a great event for the seniors to put on. And I think it's a shame that it's not in the budget for this upcoming spring 2013.
Great. Thank you very much. Do you open yourselves up for questions?
Yeah, sure. Want to have any questions?
Yes, Chair Kidd.
Yeah. What value do you see Varsity Day bringing to campus?
I think it's just a great opportunity to bring a very influential and well-educated speaker to campus and have the entire student body an opportunity to go see them. I know that everyone that went to Senior Day this past spring of 2012 really enjoyed it and had a great time doing it.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah. who would you bring to campus if you, and 2 parts. Who would you bring to campus? How much do you think it would cost to bring you?
Okay. I wouldn't be able to make the decision who to bring to campus on my own. It would come as a collaboration between
Let me clarify.
quite a few different individuals.
Who would you bring?
Who would I bring to campus? I mean, I have looked into that, and there isn't any funding currently for that to be an option.
Do you have a follow-up question?
I do.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of that. Let me pass for now on that.
Okay, Representative Wheeler.
My first question is, does senior class council play any role in the planning and execution of the varsity day event, and if so,
The varsity day event is hypothetical event. It's
Okay,
a workshop being planned, but past year, senior day 2012, was put on by the senior class officers in collaboration with, I believe, the other student.
Do you have a follow-up?
yes. So one thing we clearly know that we're going to be talking about tonight is the internal budget, which includes currently allowing them to help support this financially. So my question for you is, who else, like, do you know anything about perhaps where other money also might come from? If it was more of a collaborative effort and not just something that the student council would use, provide the financial backing and someone else to pay for it, actually plan with it? That's a good question.
Yes, and I do not currently know where other collaborations are.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, no problem.
Yes. Representative Brookbander.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
I was wondering, how do you think we would go about selecting a speaker that everyone on campus would support, which is like a really big theme in general, but making sure that people from all different backgrounds, all different identities would be excited to speak?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great question. Considering the amount of diversity that is present here on campus, I think, like I mentioned earlier, really a collaboration of a lot of different people in deciding who to bring to campus, and that would come about just working together with different organizations on campus.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes. Would you support something like a referendum? So students.
A referendum on what students have the ability to vote on who comes to campus. I don't mean to speak on behalf of the entire senior class.
No, I
Like,
just you
to me,
personally.
as the secretary of the senior class, I don't see that as being a bad idea. No.
Do you have a follow-up question?
No, I just have questions about the main.
Representative McGowan.
Yeah, so is it you all who decide who's coming to speak? The senior class, secretary or group? Who decides who's coming?
The senior class officers in the past, in the spring of 2012, they were put on senior day. And this year, as this far, we've been in collaboration with the Distinguished Lecture Series in attempts to find someone to work with our current non-existent budget to put on.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, so ASM is proposing funding with $60,000, and that is a co-sponsorship. Who is the co-sponsorship with? Who would be, so to speak, matching funds with ASM?
To be blatantly honest with you, I got an email this afternoon at 12 o'clock asking me to come and speak on behalf and show my support of varsity in 2014. So I do not know who that co-sponsorship will be with, but.
I just want to make a note, I can speak to the substance of this. I just asked Luke to come in because I know he's in favor of this, and it's so it'd be better from a student's perspective to just bring in a student that wants it to happen, an organization on campus wants it to happen. So if you could direct questions about substance to me later.
Kind of information.
It's on point, yes. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, can you do the same thing for when I'm assuming people are gonna get up and talk about the person or sustainability committee?
Do the same thing.
Like, just kind of make sure that people are respectful, because that didn't happen last week.
I will absolutely do that. Yes. Point of information, Chair Brooker.
Is this in the budget as a co-sponsorship or just?
As of now, it is not, but I'm going to speak to that later about other people that would sponsor as well.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
So just Thank you. My name is Luke. I'm a senior class officer, and I'm here solely in support of varsity in 2014, and that's why I'm here to speak.
Do you have a final question, Representative McCann?
I have nothing.
Representative Rack?
Yes.
Okay, Representative Lowe?
Hey, Luke, thanks for coming in and speaking to us. What do you think is a reasonable amount of money to spend?
No comment.
Do you follow? Okay, Representative Moss?
I'm just kind of curious, can you explain the purpose of Varsity Day and how the events that happen during the day?
Varsity Day or Senior Day, as it happened last year, I think it's just a great opportunity to bring a speaker to campus and center around other events, such as a Senior Day, where, kind of the last hurrah for seniors. They're about to graduate in May. Just, give one final goodbye and have one last opportunity to really take advantage of different activities on campus.
Do you follow?
No, thank you.
Representative Yusefa?
So do you think we should have 2 varsity days then? One in the fall, one in the spring, and there's 2 graduating?
I do not think that there should be 2 varsity days, considering the significantly less number of graduates in December.
Do you follow? Chair Kate?
Yeah. Do you know how many students came to the senior day last year?
I can't give you an exact number, but I do know that Paris was jammed back in the beginning.
Do you follow?
Yes. Would you say that the majority of the students who came were seniors?
No, and that's why it's such a great event.
Do you have a final question?
Maybe clarification.
Sure.
Could you give a breakdown of who was there
Should
necessarily?
I give a breakdown of who's there? No, is that involved in the planning? And other than that, it was a great event. I had a class. Everyone else was there that I was with had a great time. I know it was marketed towards seniors at the senior day, and I'd say a large portion of the attendance was seniors. But the fact that so many other people from across campus did show up to the event, I'd say that itself is a success.
Do you have a final question? Representative Wheeler?
Can you just tell me a little bit about what senior day looked like in terms of components and where were they housed? Just
I wasn't involved with the planning after that, so I apologize. I can't give you.
so then.
Do you follow?
Yeah, you said that you were at the parents.
Yeah.
Okay, can you just tell me about that?
Yeah, I mean, I showed up an hour beforehand. We hung out, grabbed some lunch at the Rats Store, and when it was time for me to speak, we made our way out there, found a spot where we could watch, and enjoyed the show from there.
Do you have a final question?
Where was it? You watched the show and you showed me
It was, sorry, you didn't address the place, so speaking to the student body. And so it was on the middle of the room.
Chair Statter?
This event were to take place at the union at the end. What in your position currently, do you think it would be a possibility that the union would have shared some of the costs of the event, given that some of the reasons last year we went to a restaurant
I know that was on that.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes. In general, do you think the cost of this program could be supported by non-holders?
After looking at the exact numbers, but depending on what type of situation, where the event is held, so I can't give you a straightforward answer. I apologize.
Do you have a final question?
Yeah, really, that's kind of the
Yeah.
question. I'm trying to understand, should another organization other than ASM help share the burden of producing in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think if a couple organizations and groups could collaborate to put the event on and make it easier for the event to be held, that would be a bad idea. Yes.
Okay, let's put a question to the speaker. See none, thank you. Sure, Representative Spears?
What would the topic be about? It'll run to what would the topic be about?
I don't have a
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah,
stance on that.
yeah, sure.
Varsity days, but there is this poised to be in 2014. So that's correct.
What would be the difference?
Do you have a follow-up question?
What would be the difference, since you say those were seniors, from varsity day versus the regular graduation ceremony?
So graduation is commencement speech. I think that's a lot different than just bringing a speaker to campus.
Okay, further questions to the speaker? Seeing none, thank you very much, Luke. Next up, we have Sarah Matthews. Sarah, you'll have 3 minutes as soon as you begin. Wherever you want, yep.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Matthews and I've seen many of you before, but just to reiterate, as a student council, I chair the Wisconsin Human Director. Over the course of my job, I come into contact with hundreds, sometimes I would say thousands of students from different demographics, different constituencies, and I would say that allows me a decent insight into what students are interested in seeing or not interested in seeing on campus. Over the summer, no less than 4 students talked to me about how they felt uninstigated. It wasn't some conversation that I started, but they felt like there wasn't enough celebration or recognition for seniors, that was what some of them said. But they also said they loved the idea of having an end of the year event to celebrate the university. Ideas that were thrown out ranged from having some kind of university-led prom or senior prom to having a speaker like Neil deGrasse Tyson that was spoken of favorably by many of them. And once my attention had been picked by enough of these people, I started instigating these conversations. And I feel very confident telling this body that this event is something that Varsity Day this weekend, which I understand to be an event to celebrate the university and celebrate seniors, is something that would be invaluable to this campus. I think the structure of our commencement ceremony doesn't allow for a really high-profile speaker of the kind that some people would like to see. I don't mean any disservice to the caliber of alumni and speakers we've had in previous commencements. I just want to be realistic about how a 5-day ceremony does not allow for the likes of Mark Zuckerberg or Condoleezza Rice to speak at a ceremony like this. I think that this body funds a lot of events that are necessary and valuable, but speak to niche audiences. I think this would be, the idea of varsity appeals to me and would appeal to a lot of people because it is a massive field. I would also like to say, and I apologize for running close to time, I would really appreciate a brief extension of my time period.
Motion to extend by 3 minutes.
Motion to extend by 3 minutes and a second. Any objections to extend the speaker's time? Hearing none, you have 3.5 minutes. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. So I also want to say that because as I mentioned, I and other student leaders I worked with had heard that this was an area of interest. We started meeting, I met with Neil Dagnan, who happens to be here today, who has a distinguished lecture series whose entire function is to look and bring distinguished speakers to campus. I met with Andrew, I met with the senior class president, and we were talking about potentially doing a pilot of Varsity Day, or whatever you would like to call it, but an event that pretty much mimics the purpose of Varsity Day is budgeted for next year. We were talking about doing a pilot for this year. It would probably be lower budget. We'd probably have to do a little bit of scrambling and lobbying alumni and applying for grants to make something like this happen. But the benefit that I see to this body is that you would have a pilot event that you could evaluate when you're actually implementing next year's events. So you could, hear questions asked to the previous speaker. I don't think people were analyzing the demographics of who actually came to the Neil deGrasse Tyson talk. I don't think people got a sense of whether it was a senior day that people were excited about or just a high-profile event. But I think that doing a pilot event this year, which is something that I think could easily happen, that there's been a lot of parents interested, would allow this group the opportunity to optimize next year's event to make sure you're adequately serving campus. I just want to end with saying that a lot of my job deals with sort of tedious budgetary matters, and sometimes I have to ask myself, big picture question: why am I doing this? What criteria am I using to speak for or against the allocation of really large amounts of money? Let's be real. Like, I'm not going to see $100,000 or $65,000 anytime in the next year myself. It's hard to visualize that. And then I think in the case of programs like this, what you're talking about is the power of ideas and the power of inspiration that speaks to a mass section of campus, to hypothetically all of campus. And I think it's really hard to, I think the value of a graduating class of seniors being inspired by a great speaker, someone who's achieved amazing things in their own lifetime, who can relate to them. I think that's something that's really hard to set my sight on. So thank you, and I open myself up for questions.
Thank you. Other questions to the speaker? Yes, Representative Commander.
I'm just curious how you would go about making sure that you had a speaker, which is difficult in and of itself, but like in spending as much money as we have on this line item, I think that it would be really important to at least reach like over 2/3 of 3/4 of campus.
I agree absolutely. I don't think we should have a speaker that would only be of interest to I think it's true. I think that there are multiple ways to ensure that. I think that one piece of it would be having a broad and representative planning committee that would make the final selection of the speaker. I think the planning committee or ASM or some other body could be charged with doing campus outreach. For example, one example that I think we're going to try to implement this year is for this Switch lecture series, we're going to try to send out all campus email to solicit feedback for speakers for next year. So I think there are multiple ways to ensure that. To answer your question.
Do you have a follow-up? Chair Carey.
Thanks for coming. So you mentioned people like Mark Zuckerberg and Condoleezza Rice. Do you think $60,000 be enough money to bring in a speaker of that caliber?
No. But I think that I think it's a question of balance and compromise, right? I mean, I think that this group's job is to provide some sort of support and backing for an event of that caliber. I feel very confident in saying that there are going to be other groups who are interested in co-sponsoring and pulling together support and funding and strategy to make an event like this happen.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes. So you mentioned other groups. Do you think, in your capacity as minister to speak, do you think that the union would be willing to put up money since if it was an event that was at the union, you can be directly benefiting from having speakers at the terrace, just from sales of food.
Well, I mean, I don't want to speak for next year's leadership. I think one of the great things about leadership positions like mine and like yours and like Neil's is that each year people come into these positions with autonomy and a blank slate. So I don't want to commit next year's people to something. However, I think that judging by the conversations I've had, that union administrators and union alumni would be interested in helping something like this happen. I also feel fairly safe that next year's student leaders would be likely to commit to some kind of financial support to this event if they were approached early enough and approached as equals and approached in the right way, if that makes sense.
You have a follow-up? Chair Kidd.
Yeah, so currently Wood is a RSO, right?
Yes.
Sorry, that's fine. And RSOs can apply to, I'm finance committee chair, so RSOs can apply to bank grants. Do you see this as something that maybe a bank grant could take care of?
I think the challenge with this is in order to get the caliber of speaker you're talking about, you need to apply for event grants very early and you need to solidify the funding at the beginning of the year. I think the level of planning that goes into an event like this to ensure it's happening, I feel like it should be built into the budget. And I haven't directed an RSO in a while, or with committee in a while, but applied directly for an event grant, so I don't know if there are caps on event grants. But I don't. To me, it's kind of a moot point. And I might not be understanding the issue very well, but it's ASM's money either way. Isn't it? It's like fees either way. I don't really see the distinction between funding it through event grants versus building it into the budget, except building it into the budget gives the event more security that will actually happen and well planned as opposed
follow-up? Chair Statter?
Hi. Do you have, are you aware of any data existing from student attendees that have gone to this event in the past?
Well, my initial reaction is this event hasn't really happened in the way that it's being proposed right now so far. So I don't know. I mean,
To clarify, I guess, so senior day, is there any information, is there any data that we can go to that was pulled after the attendance event that does suggest, instead of just anecdotal evidence, that it was positive and meaningful and inspiring?
to my knowledge, no. I think that senior day was instigated by the senior class officers of last year. I think that they worked with the Wisconsin Union directors as a booking mechanism, if we're going to be frank, and as a support system, but they assumed publicity and recognition for the events. And to my knowledge, no, they did not collect any recognition. I think the closest thing you would come to is if you wanted to trawl social media and see see people's tweets or Facebook posts from that point, you could sense positive or negative reaction. But essentially, the answer to your question is no, which is why I see value in the pilot that is likely to happen this year and making an effort to gauge demographics response.
Yeah,
Do you follow?
Yes, thank you. And to be clear, I'm not talking about demographic data. I'm talking about, and you touched on it, talk about the reaction to the value that the event provided in terms of inspiration or however else you want to define it. My question is, do you believe that there's a capacity for that to happen in the pilot? For there to be a survey sent out or something like that?
Yes, I think so, depending on, if the pilot happens and if it happens in the same framework as varsity, they will just continue to have a finding in this year. I think there's absolutely that capacity to be mentioned.
Do a final question? Chair McNally?
Yeah, has the EU done their budgeting for next year already?
So,
Has the EU done their budgeting for next year? Have you guys done your next fiscal year budgeting?
Do a follow-up?
Yes, I do. Would you, if this event were to pass, in our internal budget, would you possibly be open to adding, debating and entertaining a motion to add a certain amount of money to the union's internal budget as well?
I think that it would be appropriate to open that question when we're deciding the Wisconsin Union Director budget for this year. For the coming year, and yes.
Do a final question?
No, make sure go yes.
Representative Spears?
What new ideas did you picture senior day inspired?
Senior day, the same thing as varsity day, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that the overall, part of the answer to your question is really the choice of speaker, right? I mean, I think the conversation you're going to have if you had a speaker, someone, if you had the Google guys versus, Hillary Clinton versus and just throwing names out, and the choice of speaker will dictate the actual conversation. I think that's just the reality of things. However, I think that is what students will walk away from, if that's what you're asking. After listening to speakers, they'll have one, they'll know that they went to a university of the caliber high enough to attract a speaker of that quality, which I think is a big source of pride and loyalty, or generator of pride and loyalty. I think that they will be able to walk away having close exposure to someone who is able to achieve really momentous things in their lifetimes. And I really hope that they would be empowered with a sense of agency to think, oh, I could do something that big. Like, I'm a Badger, I could do something that tremendous. Maybe that's a sort of paradigm shifting, or whatever you choose to speak for in my own life.
Do a follow-up?
Yeah. Okay, so kind of sounded like, in a sense, it kind of sounds like this is, I don't know, like a better term, but it's used like a party kind of thing. Like, because I was asking about the idea of the community, like a graduation, there's a purpose kind of thing, and speak to that purpose, where you kind of lay out where it kind of seems like people it doesn't really matter too much when you talk about kind of thing, as long as people kind of gather and kind of glorify the school. Like everybody knows it's a great school, so like, imagine if anything comes to mind right now, what new ideas can we, or things can we center around this voice there, and then bring speakers to attract to them and then speak from them?
Is that a question? Or okay. So I guess my general response to that, and you brought up some valid points. I think one piece of it, one piece I definitely take issue with is that this is a party of some kind. I mean, it just doesn't sound like that to me. You know, even purely as an outsider, this speaker is not the same thing as, and you know what I mean? Like that's what I think is my favorite party. I think that it's not. I think that it's important to recognize what bodies should be endowed with what capacities. I don't know if it's the best use of this body's time to deliberate on what specific speakers bring next year, and maybe I didn't communicate all that well. I think that it's unimportant what message the varsity-based speaker for next year comes to campus with. I think that it's the job of a planning group that this body would hypothetically call together or put together to determine what does the year of 2013-2014 need to hear, and pick a high caliber speaker accordingly. I don't see and just to speak to your point about commencement, I think this conversation originally grew out, and senior day originally grew out of frustrations with commencement. I think, but realistically, structured commencement does not enable the kind of speaker we're talking about to give an inspirational message to them. And what I love about this event proposal at this stage is that it's not just for people who can attend commencement, it's for anyone. It celebrates the message of this event, as I understand, is it celebrates seniors itself, but more importantly, it celebrates the university as a whole and it's open to everyone.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Could I do like a last comment?
No, try to give you questions, please. There'll be time for debate, I promise. Representative Wheeler.
Thanks for coming. My first question is just a clarifying from my understanding. The Wisconsin Youth Accelerated budget, is it part of the greater region budget that is for the secondary fees? Maybe you want to put that to the chair.
Well, I don't mind either way, but so Ellie, I don't know if it's really helpful, you can jump in. But the union's budget is not paid for entirely by it's a portion of the union's budget that's of the two buildings is paid for by 750, a building that is discounted. Wood is part of the union budget for sure. It was the campus programming board for a long time, and this new programming organization has popped up including this programming board with a large campus role. And Wood is funded through operating revenue and yes, I know.
Do you follow up?
Yes. So you're talking about this pilot program. It sounds like a very like a trial run, but it seems to me that you're also talking about being able to put on something like that without funds coming from the ASM Student Council. And so I'm just would like to know, do you think if you can run this pilot program without funds coming from of this, and would it be possible to run a varsity day event of high caliber coming from a lot of different inputs, but not from?
So that's a really good point. Now, the best way I can answer that is, I think the pilot program will necessarily be significantly smaller than the varsity day event, to my understanding, of the scope that is currently budgeted for. I think it would just have to be smaller. I think that there are resources that I've access to in my position that along my network, for example, that would allow for one-time lobbying to try to secure funds from the pilot. I don't think it's a sustainable source of funding, so I think that I wouldn't need this guarantee that a pilot program can happen. I'm here to tell this body that I'm interested in trying my best to make it happen, but there are no guarantees, right? So what that would look like would be me applying for a bunch of grants, me and some other students also applying for a bunch of grants, lobbying some alumni saying, hey, would you be able to spare X, $1,000, and you're not going to, I don't think I or other student leaders can go back and answer the same sources with SPF.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, just out of curiosity, you mentioned applying for grants for this kind of event. What kinds of organizations do you apply for grants from for something?
I think that some tips that I on the top of my head, one would be scientific humanities, one would be there's a different country grants called innovative grants hypothetically those words if they're considered truly innovative. But overall, I would say the important to remember with grants like that, I think that there's no guarantee that you will get anything that's which is kind of what I alluded to when I said I have no idea about what the scope of the parts of the pilot could be. It might be significantly smaller than what's currently budgeted for.
Representative Cantwell.
Can you talk to us about your interaction with the student body? Are you only seeing demand for a speaker event or other possibly other ways to inspire and celebrate students making more cost-effective speaking?
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think that we're a couple of suggestions right now. I think what I synthesized away was this idea that Varsity Day could be a holistic celebration with a bunch of different kinds of events. And the pilot, as we talked about it right now, could hypothetically look like something like we have a student achievement showcase, we have a big keynote speaker that would be the prize draw of the event, and then later we could have some kind of formal dinner that would celebrate student leaders or student achievements on part of the seniors class. So to answer your question, I don't think that students are thinking, oh, I really want to celebrate seniors or the university and you have to have a speaker. I think that a really high caliber speaker is one a sort of surefire way to get people excited.
Your thoughts?
Sorry, I'm just going to finish my sentence. I think that the other options are things that happen all the time on campus, right? You have special fancy dinners or dances or whatever on campus all the time, but not for this dedicated. The speaker for this dedicated purpose. It seems to me like it would be something special.
Your follow-up? No. Representative Wickmander? Okay. Are there further questions for the speaker? Yes, Representative Spears.
What would a celebration of things be that would do for
Are you looking for outcomes or topics? Does that make sense? Are you looking for what it would sound like to me in terms of what I would like to walk away from it having, or what I would like?
It's a little bit of both. Like, what would you imagine, like the main theme starting off with, and then how would that get to a point where people would walk away with this grand, inspiring outcome, something new they've never heard of? Yeah, this is a great university. You know, you come here and do studies.
This is a question, Representative Spears.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit elaborate.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that I'm not 100% sure I know what you're saying, but if you're interested, I want to be respectful of this body's time, so I'm going to try to answer it. And if I don't answer it, you are more than welcome to talk to me offline outside of this forum. But an example I would give is, so my best friend works at Facebook over the summer, and I was able to watch a talk by their chief operating officer, Cheryl Sandberg. And I would say Cheryl Sandberg is the caliber of speaker I would not necessarily the niche area or the caliber of speaker I would love to see at Varsity Day. She spoke about leadership and she talked about her own life experience and trajectory, and it made me feel like this woman, this individual who achieved so much, was in a place that was relatable to me, and I might be able to have an impactful trajectory like hers. I think that's, I think that if you have concerns about the topic or the outcomes of what kind of speech is actually given at this, I think that falls, that speaks to the makeup of the planning committee and the charges given to the planning committee. I don't know that one speaker in open forum, or even if this group were to say we want a speaker that looks exactly like this, I don't think that's the most productive way to go about it.
Do a follow-up.
I just want to say, I don't think breaks up.
Is there a question, Representative Spears? Thank you. Are there further questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you, Sarah. Next, we have Neil. You have 3 minutes to begin. On point?
How much time is left?
We have 7.5 minutes. On point? Not counting the current speaker, we have 2 who are not members of this body.
Motion to extend open forum by 30 minutes.
Motion to extend open forum by 30 minutes and a second. All in favor of extend open forum by 30 minutes, please raise your placard. Raise them high and just do it, please. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16. All opposed? 5, 6, 7. Is that? Can everyone just raise them straight in the air, please? This makes it really easy. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that passes. Sorry, Neil, you have 3 minutes to use it again.
Thank you, Andrew. My name is Neil. I'm the Distinguished Lecture Series Director here as a representative of the Wisconsin Union Directorate. In case you're not really familiar with Distinguished Lecture Series, we bring the best and brightest speakers to campus to share their experiences and ideas. And we do this because we believe in the power of ideas. So over the summer and into the fall, I've been having meetings with Senior Class President Betsy Pike. And we had this wonderful idea about a day to celebrate the University of Wisconsin Madison students, Varsity Day. Betsy and I got the inspiration for this day from last year's Senior Day, where we brought speaker Neil deGrasse Tyson to the terrace. It was an incredible event. Hundreds of people were there. The entire terrace was filled. People were having a great time. It was truly a memory day for everyone who attended. So following this, Betsy and I enlisted the help of Sarah Matthews, who just spoke, to bounce ideas off of students by tapping into different student groups on campus through our respective roles here. And we were met only with enthusiasm and encouragement. So when discussing what we were going to do at this event in coming years, a key aspect of what we thought would make it successful is who we choose for the speaker. And one of the conclusions we came to is that a world-class university like University of Wisconsin-Madison deserves a world-class speaker. We need someone who will excite people, someone who students actually want to hear, someone who the university as a whole would be proud to host. So there's numerous merits to bringing a world-class speaker like this, but I'm going to speak to 2. The first of which is the effect that it can have on the entire university, and the second is the effect that it can have on individual students. Bringing a well-known figure to campus increases our prestige as a university as a whole. It promotes the university. It also makes all of us proud to have someone like that coming to our campus, and it makes it attractive for future students. Secondly, and more importantly, is the effect that it can have on individual students. I mentioned earlier that Distinguished Lecture Series would bring speakers to campus, and we do this because we witness firsthand what a great speaker can do to influence people on our campus. Incredible speakers bring with them unique experiences, perspectives, and ideas. Exposure to these ideas has the potential to educate people, to challenge them, to make them grow. Great speakers have the potential to inspire. They can change someone's personal trajectory and lead them to do great things. Ultimately, these effects can only really have a positive effect on students on their campus. And they can only really have a positive effect on the university as a whole, both now and later. So, coming to you as a student and for students, I urge you to include Varsity Day in this year's, or in the expenditures for this budget. Such a world-class speaker and has the power to excite and inspire students, impacting their lives forever. I don't think you can really put a price on that. I'd like to yield to questions.
Great. Other questions for Neil? Yes, Representative Usaita.
No, I was
Okay,
giving it
okay, cool. Okay, so is this just gonna be a speaker? Or there's going to be like, that speaker, so I could do like people like class and like, yeah, but, is it just a speaker or will there be like other things going on that's the whole day? I'm pretty sure people have speakers.
Correct. The reason I was speaking specifically to the speaker aspect of it is because that was the portion of the program, especially last year, that I had an unfortunate problem. But I think that the other things that we've discussed for that day were ways to highlight students on campus who are doing particularly amazing things and have a platform for them to show that to people. Beyond that, I think other things might be similar to things that we did on the terrace that day last year. It really, it's expansive. It's open to possibilities. My role here was to come and talk to you a little bit about what that speaker is doing to campus and where a lot of the funds for this would go to.
Do you follow? Representative Megion.
So if the $60,000 contribution from ASM would also include other things outside of the speaker, do you think the proposed expenditure of $60,000 would be sufficient to attract a world-class speaker to come speak on varsity day?
As Sarah stated, I don't think that the $60,000 alone would be able to do that, but I know that there are collaborations that can happen on campus. And for example, last year when we brought Neil deGrasse Tyson, Distinguished Lecture Series was influential in helping with that event. I think groups like that would be eager to jump on board, and I think the more enthusiasm and the more money that we're able to garner can only snowball that effect.
Do you follow?
How much money did it cost to bring more than for
$15,000.
Do you follow question?
Nope.
Chair Kidd.
Yes. Do you think that the union would be the best place to host this event, or was there another venue would be better? And if so, if another venue would be better, do you think sponsors foresee?
I'm not really sure what the purpose of that question is specifically. I think that given the success of the event at the union last year, and given the fact that the terrace in the union itself are some of the places on campus that people are most here, if you ask any alumni, the union is one of the first places that they would want to come back and visit. I think that is an appropriate place to hold a celebration of our entire university. It's kind of a hallmark. So I don't really know if there is a better place to do this. I think that we should, personally, I think that we should hold it there.
Do you follow?
Yes. Why not do Brandon?
I don't think that any speaker that we can afford with $60,000 or even $100,000 would be able to fill a program. And I think that would diminish the effect of the speaker because it's so hard. And I think that having a somewhat more intimate venue, even if it is a large place like the terrace, would facilitate arguments much better than people. And that's coming from someone who does these events all the time.
Follow question?
Yes. If this is designed for all students, why wouldn't we first define venue where all students can attend?
I think that all students can attend and facilitate every student is open and protected. It's on the terrace, and I don't think we turn a single student away. I think if you ask them to be taken to feel really accepted that. And I think that would continue to happen when we
Representative Moss.
Has answered my question, but I was going to ask more like, I'm hearing varsity day and senior day kind of be interchanged. I just wanted to hear about like if it is actually senior day or if it's for all the students.
No, it's absolutely for all the students, and I'm sorry if I confused you in any way. I keep referring to senior day because that is the inspiration for this event, but I think what Sarah said and also what we're trying to emphasize here is that this event is definitely not just for seniors. It's a day to celebrate the university as a whole, especially other students, and to highlight everyone's experience.
Do you follow?
No, thank you.
Representative Zodek.
I guess you said you can't put a
focus on something. Hypothetically, you have to focus on what's happening. It's what you guys have said, like 60,000 years to put on the lower end, but speeds there. So, what's happening funding?
I think trying to put an actual number on that is trivial. I think what I can give you a really fun one. The more money that is able to be garnered for this event, the more of a speaker that, the better speaker we'll be able to bring, because it will be somebody that everyone knows and someone that applies to all groups, which I think was, the more money that you're able to have, the bigger name you can have, and the more groups you can apply to because it's a bigger name. So I think the more you limit it, the more you're limiting the scope of who you can reach, and also the excitement that can come with it, and that's the potential of the event. So limiting the money is going to limit the potential of the entire event.
Do you follow?
Yes. All right. So it also creates a little bit of confusion, and that's the fact of what we've been seeing with it. I know you guys kind of spoke about it, this much more because this is just a very top level like summary. I know it's something that just didn't come out of it, but you know, your general understanding of what this event is.
I think part of the beauty of this event is that it hasn't been, the schedule has not been devised for it. Here are the goals that we would want to achieve on such a day. We would want to celebrate what the university has to offer, highlight our best students in some capacity, and have this world-class speaker there in order to inspire people and to get them going, and to send out our students, but also continue to have great things as we go. As far as the specific schedule that facilitates that, I think that would be kind of up to the committee that's designing the event. But I think, regardless, those are the overlying values that we had in mind when we were thinking about this.
Do you have a follow-up question? Thank you. Representative Spears.
Okay. So you said you couldn't think of a random money.
Well, I didn't say I couldn't think of it, but I said that I think it's trivial to come up with a range right here for a truly subjective matter, like what would be the right range for a good speaker, like that's completely subjective. So I think coming up with that kind of range is trivial.
Do you follow?
So you said limited money will equal limited potential to great outcome, right? Yes. Okay.
Do you have a follow-up question?
No, that was the question.
Oh, sure.
So what do you think, because this kind of goes back to my big dilemma versus good speaker versus a good thing and good speaker with positive. So in thinking about how much it would cost, in my opinion, I've seen great events put on with a very nice flyer, a spacious venue.
This is a question, Representative Spears.
Okay. A very nice flyer, a spacious venue, and a good thing to talk about, and students for it. It would cost a whole lot less. Would that be a possible route to take for these costs to be taken?
Well, Representative Spears, I'm not sure exactly what experience you have in planning these kind of events, but as someone who has planned these events, it is certainly possible to have events that are successful, that have that you spend less money on and you have a nice flyer for it. But at the same time, if you're going to have a truly special event that stays with people for a long time, that inspires people, that our university deserves, that continues to promote our university, I don't think that a lesser event like that would really do justice to what we're aiming for.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So let's say it's like $60,000, right? $60,000 worth of words or inspiration. Do you see that being put towards more so a general rallying speech that rallies people up in terms of just this somewhat blank excitement and encouragement to go forth and do all your dreams? Or do you see it as $60,000 worth of words that are put towards an organized, sat down, plotted out thing of how this speech will guide students' thoughts to a new frame of thought, a new way of thinking? That, I feel like, is the kind of idea that varsity day, that's who how you describe it, which we're trying to get at. But what you're describing right there, there's been so much taken in my mind. Is
there a question there?
Yeah, okay, so back to it. Do you see it as more as a rallying speech or an organized speech that guides the new train of thought?
I don't understand your question. I can try to speak to it.
Could you rephrase it? Yeah. Okay, so like guiding to a new train of thought would be guiding to a new way of thinking. That's, I feel like the Wisconsin idea, right? We're trying to progress, move forward. Rallying about, encouragement. This is a great school, come here, tell your friends about it. That's a bunch of the same old. So what kind of can we do new that would get students to kind of spark something that they never found in their brain?
All right, I guess the way that we had seen the event is as being the way you described it first. I think it would be a mistake to think that we would be bringing the speaker to tell us how great of a university the University of Wisconsin Madison is. I think inviting a great speaker to the University of Wisconsin and giving a message that guides people is something that makes the whole university better. We're not hiring someone who's prominent to come and tell you how great a university you go to. They're giving us inspiration from they're speaking about their own lives and their own experiences.
Representative Wickmander.
So this is a big thing. I just really want to clarify with that I got this right, because you were saying it and I was writing as you were saying it and I was saying it correctly. So just like a clarification, the goals are to celebrate our school, highlight the best students and showcase the speaker, right? All that. Do you see those goals as subjective or objective?
Well, I definitely they're somewhat subjective to students, but that's why we would be engaging student input into how planning that event.
Do you follow up?
Yes, I do, thank you. I guess, what kind of
composition of the committee do you think would make that, make the decision for the planning processes to make sure that the students from all different backgrounds and all different identities, like a very diverse composition, is participating, or do you think that may not be? Like, how do you ensure that if you think that's something
I guess drawing from as many different areas of campus as possible. I'm not exactly sure as to how the procedure would go to do that, but I think that we're capable of it. We do that on Wisconsin Union, we draw from all areas of campus. You guys do that for your career. I don't think that's beyond our capabilities.
Do you have a final question?
I do, thanks, and the interesting and not necessarily that was sorry, feeling weird. But you were talking about it being able to pick an amount of money right now kind of being really different than the process of figuring that out. But that's part of what we're doing now, because that's our budget, we're going for our budget and doing that now. And I guess my question is how do you think it would be fair for us to put in segregated fees through our internal budget, but then also draw from segregated fees in other budgets, like the union?
I think that wherever the fees are coming from, it needs to be from a body that's approved by students, as we talked about. If you're referring to other funds that I referred to earlier, such as coming from the series lecture series, that actually comes from the union in terms of what we sell. All of our money comes from what we sell at the union, and that goes back into our speakers. So that specifically would not be coming also from segregated fees. Also, grants, like Sarah had mentioned, don't come from segregated fees. There are other ways to get money for events like this that you don't have to do with segregated fees. Does that answer your question?
A little bit. I think you did. Sorry, I'm really it's just once we put in segregated fees, then we should be getting money from other sources, or also getting in the segregated fees. Just one go shot at fees, or other, because there are other sources.
Well, certainly, but I think that would be up to the decision makers who are a lot that way. So if they felt like this was an event that was worthwhile to contribute into and they thought that segregated fees would be used well by putting into this event, I think that would be beneficial. But at the same time, there are other ways to get money besides other segregated fees. For people who are concerned about, using segregated fees.
Chair Statter.
Sorry, I wasn't quite ready for that. Thank you. Better than driven, all right. You mentioned in the last response that revenue from food and beverage sales towards the distinguished lecture series, not seg fees. Wouldn't be safe to say though that the majority of the folks purchasing those items are students?
I would say about 50%. We generally, yeah, that's actually true. Our attendance at lectures we keep track, it has hovered around 50% of students. So I'm not sure where you're getting at with the question.
I'll understand that. So you said in your last comment that revenue from food and beverage sales helps support the distinguished lecturer series.
Right.
Food and beverage sales from not just times during the distinguished lecturer series, but food and beverage sales that encompass time periods outside of that. So then would it be safe to say that the majority of people purchasing items inside the union are students or family members of students?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you follow?
Thank you. Other universities, Marquette, for example, has a National Marquette Day. Speaking to the kind of grand idea for this day to highlight the university given the worldwide scope their university has, is a single speaker too small to be?
I'm not really sure what Marquette does, but I think depending on who the speaker is, a speaker is certainly going to have an incredibly influential impact on people here, and I think that in and of itself would make the event special. I'm not sure what you're suggesting in terms of what would make it, what we can make.
I can clarify. So National Marquette Day, for example, would be a day. There happens to be a game on that day. There's 6 speakers on that day. Of the alumni network engages with alumni bringing back specifically for that day. It's a day that alumni from across the world have viewing parties together. That's something that's more robust than just a single speaker. So that's what I was getting at. My question, last question, would be then, again, if the idea for this day is to highlight the incredible strengths of this university, of the alumni, the students, and to highlight all of that on one single day, is bringing one speaker on campus or not?
I don't think that to say that the whole day is just about one speaker is limiting what we're trying to talk about. The day is supposed to, as I mentioned earlier, one of the goals of the day is to highlight some of our best students and some of our alumni. I'm not sure through what mechanisms. Sarah probably talked or spoke better to this, and Betsy probably would also be someone to talk about this. But the speaker is one aspect of a day celebrating the university.
Representative Bach.
So, in the past couple of years, Northwestern and Dartmouth brought in Colbert and Conan O'Brien, respectively. I was just wondering, given your position, if you had a ballpark number of how much those speakers cost. I consider them kind of in the same level of, caliber.
Yeah, I actually talked to our agent the other day about how much someone like Stephen Colbert would be, and he charges around $175,000 with private airfare. So he's incredibly expensive. That's mostly because that's something that's consistent across journalists, because it's hard to get someone's time when they're constantly working as someone like that.
Do you follow up?
Do you think maybe if we can't get $175,000 together for next year, that down the road that could be a possibility if this event gains popularity?
Well, I would hope so. I think that being able to bring a speaker like that can only help the ideas. Like I said before, that the bigger the speaker and the broader range it will apply to, and the bigger and more enthusiastic the event. And I think that will make it more successful. But I can't really speak to how money will be allotted then, and I don't know if people will continue to be on board with this idea in the future. I would hope so.
Do you have a final question? Chair Kidd?
Yeah. So the money that may be set aside for this day, do you see that also as being given as financial awards to students that we recognize?
I'm not sure, I don't think that we should limit the possibility of that. Actually, I think that the idea behind recognizing students is to highlight students who have done incredible things all year, so in their later years, and having a day like that with a platform for that. As to terms of how we go about recognizing them, I don't think throwing that idea out is a bad idea, but I think it's a way about
Do you follow up?
Yes. If the Stainless Lecture Series funded in part by the revenue brought in through sales of collective benefit profit here, do you think that that same revenue could be used to help offset the cost of this event?
I can't speak for the person who's going to be in my position next year, but we were willing this year to help with, we are willing this year to help with the programs that were that for varsity day that was supposed to happen this year. And I would imagine that in the future, the students like this would be very interested in helping with that as it progresses along.
Do you have a final question? Okay. Other further questions for the speaker? Yes, Representative Spears.
Okay. So, you said that the varsity day will highlight some of the best students and alumni that came through here, and that way it will be illuminating the great part A. Right? Okay. So,
Do you follow up?
no, that was part A.
Do you follow up?
So what do you say if that sounds somewhat just kind of braggadocious about the university as opposed to trying to move things forward?
So not familiar with concern braggadocious.
Very braggy kind of thing about what the university stands for. Everybody knows this is a great university. Yes, we have great students. Yes, that's what we're graduating for. Yes, that's what a lot of different organizations on this campus put on celebrations. So what would be different about the arts?
I think that one of the reasons behind doing varsity day was that there's frustration among people who we talk to that we don't do enough of those kind of celebrations, and that the celebrations that we do are inadequate. For example, you mentioned graduation. When was the last time we had a speaker who was truly engaging and truly memorable to our senior class, like people get at a lot of universities, a lot of world-class universities. That's generally a typical thing for those kind of universities, and we generally don't get.
Do you have a final question?
Yeah, I got a second.
There's no such thing as a part A to your question. Do you have a final question, Representative Spears?
Okay. Final question. Would you be opposed to seeing this layout at this university as you get to see a very inspiring speaker on this campus?